This is Alex, and this one's really going over the edge. Tonight, we're not deep diving into one rabbit hole, we're swan diving into 10. These are the biggest, wildest, most iconic conspiracy theories humans have ever cooked up. Some of them you've argued about at 2 a.m. with your friends, and some of them you've only seen in memes and were afraid to Google. And some of them you probably secretly believe and just don't want to admit it in public. I got the list by doing a popularity matrix with the help of AI. I used belief, amount of movies, TV, media, social media, news, mentions. I came up with some real surprises. So let's dig into the WTF Top 10 Conspiracies of All Time. Number 10. The Nazis had a secret base in Antarctica. Here's something that just won't go away, because apparently conquering Europe wasn't ambitious enough. Story goes like this. In the final days of World War II, high-ranking Nazis escaped to a hidden base under the ice called Base 211. Down there, they supposedly had advanced flying saucer technology, secret weapons, and maybe even experiments with portals in other dimensions. Antarctica becomes less frozen wasteland and more villain lair from a Bond movie. People connect this to real missions like Operation High Jump, a giant U.S. naval expedition to Antarctica in 1946. Officially, research and training. In the conspiracy version, it was to hunt for the Nazi base under the ice. Is there a frozen UFO garage down there? I have no idea. But if I mysteriously disappear, check the South Pole first. Number 9. Bigfoot is real. Well, at least that's what 6% of people surveyed thought. Actually, I thought that number would be a little higher. Bigfoot is the hairy landlord of North American forest. For decades, people have reported a huge bipedal, ape-like creature walking on 2 legs, big footprints in the mud, tree knocks, something big breathing just outside the tent. And somehow in the era of 4K cameras and drones, all we ever get is this shaky cam from 1973. But the fun part of Bigfoot just isn't the footprint. It's the lore. Some say the government knows and quietly keeps it covered up. Some say Bigfoot is interdimensional, stepping in and out of portals. Others say it's a surviving branch of some ancient hominid, smart enough to stay the hell away from human civilization. And honestly, if I were 9 feet tall and covered in hair, and I saw what humans were doing out here, I might hide in the woods too. Number 8. The world is flat. Now this one really blew me away. According to the poll, the same amount of people believe that the earth is flat as believe in Bigfoot. Surprise you too? On paper, only a small percentage of these people believe this. Online, it's a heavyweight champion of chaos. In flat earth theory, we're not living on a spinning ball in space. We're living on a flat disk. The North Pole is in the center. Continents spread out like slices of pizza. And Antarctica isn't a continent at the bottom. It's an ice wall around the entire edge. In that model, there is no South Pole. It's just the middle. And then the edge is where you're not supposed to go. Every space agency is lying. Satellites are fake. Photos of Earth from space are CGI. And pilots are somehow flying around this cosmic dinner plate pretending it's a globe. You know, you can't get your friends to keep a birthday party secret for 2 weeks. But according to this theory, every government, every airline, every satellite company, and every astronaut nailed one giant lie for decades. And yet flat Earth won't die, because underneath the crazy geometry, it's really about trust. Because if you believe they lied about one thing, then it suddenly feels possible they lied about everything. I still can't believe that many people believe.
Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
Number 7. The moon landings were fake. Now, the poll numbers on this jump up to 25%. This story, in 1969, NASA put humans on the moon. The conspiracy theory, NASA put humans on a very expensive movie set. In this version, the U.S. was losing the space race. The Soviets were ahead. So instead of actually landing on the moon, we launched real rockets, sure. But the footage you saw on TV was filmed in a warehouse. They point to the flag that seems to wave in a vacuum, the missing stars in the black sky, the way shadows fall on the lunar surface, and of course the fact that the original highest quality tapes of the moon landing were misplaced. That part bothers me. If I lose my car keys, that's a problem. If you lose the original recordings of humanity's greatest achievement, that's everybody's problem. Some versions go even further. They say Stanley Kubrick directed the fake landing after filming 2001: A Space Odyssey. They point to little details in The Shining as his secret confession. Do I think Kubrick faked the moon landing? I'm sorry, I'm not totally writing this one off. There are some strange things afoot here. Do I think that Stanley Kubrick would have loved people arguing about it for 50 years? Absolutely. Either we pulled off the greatest technological feat in human history, or we pulled off the greatest movie shoot in human history. Either way, it's one heck of a story. Number 6. We're living in a simulation. Some of the most brilliant scientific minds in the world put it at a 50-50 chance that we are. This one isn't your grandpa's conspiracy theory. It's philosophy dressed up like a video game. The idea is simple. Reality is not base reality, it's a program. A hyper-advanced simulation running on some cosmic computer. And we're the NPCs. Or maybe the player characters if we're lucky. This theory loves to feed on glitches. Deja vu? Mandela effect, patch notes. Crazy coincidence? The system reusing assets. And it doesn't hurt that tech billionaires have publicly said they think the odds of us living in base reality are very, very low.
This could be some simulation. The argument for the simulation, I think, is quite strong. Be in base reality.
Movies like The Matrix turned it into pop culture. The internet turned it into an existential meme. And here's the wild part. You don't have to put on some tinfoil hat for this one. Some physicists and philosophers are actually debating it. If this is all a simulation, someone somewhere clicked new game and then walked away and let us run on autoplay. And by the way, who's ever playing my character, could you please invest a little bit more skill points in financial stability and maybe a little less in Googling weird stuff at 3 a.m.? Number 5. 9/11 was an inside job. Let this number blow you away. Over half of Americans think the government is concealing important information about 9/11. Half of us. Wow. Official story. Coordinated terrorist attacks by Al-Qaeda. Conspiracy theory. No, that's not the whole story. In the softer version, people say elements inside the government knew it was coming and let it happen. In the harder version, they say those elements helped make it happen to justify wars, surveillance, and a massive expansion of power. They point at building number 7, which collapsed later in the day and looked to many eyes like a controlled demolition. They point at strange financial moves, missing Pentagon money, and the way the Patriot Act and global war plans rolled out almost immediately afterwards. Whether you buy any of it or not, the theory is less about physics and steel beams and more about trust in institutions. A lot of people simply don't believe they're getting the full story about anything this big. And that distrust bleeds straight into almost every other conspiracy on this list. Number 4. The JFK Assassination. Roughly half of Americans think there was a conspiracy and not a lone gunman. November 22nd, 1963, Dallas, Texas. President John F. Kennedy is shot in a motorcade. Official story. One lone gunman, Lee Harvey Oswald, fired from the 6th floor of a bank depository. Conspiracy theory. Yeah, right. This one has everything. The magic bullets supposedly did multiple wounds and came out almost pristine. Witnesses who swear the shots came from different directions, the famous grassy knoll. Then you add in the motive theories, the mafia, the CIA, anti-Castro Cubans, the Soviets, the military-industrial complex. Take any powerful group that Kennedy ticked off, and someone somewhere has a theory that they were behind it. Decades later, documents are still redacted. Files are still sealed, delayed, or heavily blacked out. So when people say we're not getting the full story, they're not pulling that feeling out of nowhere. The JFK assassination is the original modern "we've been lied to" template. Number 3. Space Odysseys. The Face on Mars and the Black Knight satellite. Space is lying to us. This slot is a sampler platter. In the 1970s and 80s, a blurry NASA image of a mesa on Mars looked, at first glance, like a human face. Eyes, nose, mouth, the whole deal. Later, higher resolution images just showed us a hill with some shadows. But by then, the idea was locked in. Ancient aliens, Martian statues, NASA hiding the truth. And then there's the Black Knight satellite, an odd-looking object photographed in orbit that some claim is a 10,000-year-old alien spacecraft watching Earth. Officially, it's space debris, a thermal blanket, a misidentified bit of junk. Conspiracy version, it's an alien probe. And every time NASA explains it, it's just more cover-up. These space conspiracies aren't as massive as JFK or 9/11, but they plug directly into a bigger, juicier idea that someone is hiding the truth about who's out there and what's really above our heads. The government is hiding aliens. Roughly 40% of Americans think the government is hiding info about alien encounters. This one is simple. Aliens exist. They've been here, and someone in power knows. Roswell, 1947. Strange wreckage in New Mexico. Initial reports mention a flying disc. Very quickly, that becomes a weather balloon. Then you got Area 51, a remote base in the Nevada desert. Officially, testing experimental aircraft. Unofficially, the world's favorite alien hangar. And in decades of UFO reports, whistleblowers, leaked videos, and now government hearings where officials say unidentified a lot and refuse to answer the fun questions. To many, all of that looks less like we know nothing and more like we know something and we're not telling you. At this point, the weirdest theory might be that nobody in power knows anything at all. But for most people, it just feels more satisfying to believe there's a crash saucer, a few bodies on ice, and a file marked "Do Not Disclose" locked in a vault somewhere. Time for number one. The Illuminati and the New World Order. This is the final boss of conspiracy theories, the grand unifying theory. It says behind every government, every economy, every war, every crash, there's a small group calling the shots, a hidden board of directors for planet Earth. Sometimes they're called the Illuminati. Sometimes it's the cabal, the elite, the globalist, the shadow government. The labels change. The vibe stays the same. In this story, elections are theater. News is carefully managed. Crises are manufactured. And the same people somehow end up on top no matter who you vote for. People point at symbols, pyramids, all-seeing eyes, owls, checkerboards, showing up in music videos, logos, architecture. They see invitation-only meetings of billionaires and world leaders. They see banking families, intelligence agencies, and corporate empires all tangled together. And then they ask, is this all just a coincidence? Or is someone writing the script? Here's the spooky part. You don't need a literal secret handshake club to see the pattern. Power concentrates. Money concentrates. Decisions that affect billions of people get made in rooms you'll never see. Call it the Illuminati. Call it the New World Order. Call it Tuesday in geopolitics. The exact details might be off, but the feeling that someone else is driving this bus, that's why this conspiracy sits at number one. So that was the top 10 conspiracies of all time. Anything surprise you? Was there something that should have been on the list but wasn't? I know there should have been 2 more items on that list, but I was told if they were on the list, there'd be no list. That in and of itself is conspiracy big enough to put them on the list. Let me know in the comments if you know which ones I'm talking about. So do I think these conspiracies are nonsense? Hell no. If there wasn't something, fishy and off about the JFK assassination, why are files still redacted 60 plus years later? Who they trying to cover for on this? And there are still a lot of unknown things surrounding 9/11. Unanswered questions. And a lot of times due to the fact that the questions weren't even allowed to be asked. And of course, I love me some aliens and Bigfoot, although I'm a little more skeptical about the Sasquatch. Hit subscribe and like and help me build the channel. I'd really appreciate it. I'm Alex, and I'll see you in the next rabbit hole, right here on WTF.